So today we're going to be looking at the Huawei Y7 here on the Mammoth Tech Show. Hi, welcome to the Mammoth Tech Show. I'm Jeff.
I'm Frankie.
And this is the Huawei Y7. Now, Huawei popped into the news recently when they became the second biggest smartphone manufacturer, displacing Apple, who were knocked down to third place.
Ooh.
Samsung, of course, being first, if you're wondering. And I had to change my phone recently, and I've gone for this Huawei Y7.
So what drew you to the Huawei range of phones and this particular phone?
Well, I was looking for a 6-inch phone, and I really didn't want to spend the flagship money that you'd have to normally. It's one of the big shifts that are coming from phones now, is that you don't have to spend that huge amount of money and to get decent sized screens and decent specs nowadays. Obviously with this phone you're not getting the most powerful processor, the most amount of memory, the fanciest camera, but what you are getting is good solid performance, and what you're getting is around about £150, which is...
That's a good... Yeah, that's a really good price for...
Yeah.
You know, there aren't that many 6-inch phones on the market.
No, it just looked like a good phone when I saw it. It's got good solid build quality. There's no squeaking or creaking as you handle it. Even a few years ago, when you picked up even quite premium phones, they would be a little squeaky around the edges. But this is... Have a go, see what you think. It seems very solid.
It's very solid, and it's quite a light phone, isn't it?
The advantage now with the cheaper smartphones is that smartphone technology has increased to the extent where even the specifications of a cheap smartphone are pretty comparable to what you'd get a few years ago in a decent premium smartphone. Now the advancements you get in the flagship phones are just giving you really tiny amounts of speed increases. You're not getting the huge leaps forward anymore because there's just not that much further that they can be pushed. So oftentimes the budget or mid-range specifications for the most part are perfectly adequate nowadays.
So your previous smartphone, which was the
Motorola X.
Moto X. So what features does this one now have a few years down the line that the Moto X didn't? Does it have NFC?
Yes. I mean, apart from the fact it's got a bigger screen, but yes, it does have things like NFC, a fingerprint sensor, the sort of things that would have been big headline flagship phone features a few years ago.
I had those features on my Nexus 5X, which I've had for several years now, and it was a flagship phone back when I bought it. But other phones on the market at that time didn't have those features. So now those features are filtering down through to the more budget-friendly phones. Yeah. Which is negating the need, really, as you say, for spending the £800-900 on the big flagships.
Yeah. We'll have a look now at some examples of the photographs that this little chap can take, because that is one area where some people really think the flagship is still worth it, is the quality of the pictures.
Yes.
So we'll have a look at some Now, obviously, this can't have the type of super slow-mo effects that you can with the more powerful processor. That is one thing you can do with those much more powerful smartphone processors for high frame rates or 4K footage, things like that.
But if that is something that's really, really important to you, for the price of this phone, you could get a really decent standalone proper camera.
Yes, absolutely.
For cheaper than what you could spend out on a flagship phone.
Yeah, if photography really is that important to you, you really should think, should I just get a normal smartphone and put that £600 I save to get a good system camera or DSLR?
Yeah.
And you will be able to get a little micro two thirds or similar sort of camera for that kind, and take pictures that would simply not be possible on any type of smartphone. Because if you're going to go serious with pictures, then you can't use
no smartphone's going to kick
forever.
It, no.
No smartphone's going to be sufficient forever. You're going to have to bite the bullet eventually and go for a proper camera.
So how long have you been using this particular phone now, and how have you been finding it?
I've had it for a few weeks now, and it's working out very well. There are instances where it isn't completely smooth. There are points where you can find that it does hitch a little bit, not really game-breakingly, but it's just that very smooth operation. If you're used to that, then you will notice it, but it's not something, unless you're really super picky about these sort of things. It still does have some nice little conveniences, like my previous phone, the Moto X. It had a nice little thing where you could do gestures.
Okay.
You could do a motorbike revving gesture, which would start the camera, which is a nice thing.
Yeah.
But
that's something I don't have. That's something I've never had.
But this one actually has a nice thing where you just click twice on the volume control, volume down, and that will immediately kick on the camera. So we'll have a look at that. So if it's off, just click twice, once, two, and
there we go.
Off the camera. That's pretty good.
So that's
you can actually set it to either just bring the camera on or bring the camera on and immediately take a photograph.
Yes, but I'd imagine that way you'd get lots of photographs of feet and fingers.
Yeah. So I've got it just set to switch off because it is it's a nice little convenience. You can just click. You can take a photograph. It isn't always 100%. Again, there are instances where it can hiccup, and you should just ensure that it's fully up and the camera application is fully running, because sometimes if you try to hit the button before it's really sorted itself out, nothing will happen.
Okay.
So just
give it a few minutes.
No, literally a few seconds, and it'll be fine. But it's one of the things. It's £150 smartphone. You can't expect flagship speed. You're giving away a bit of that sort of speed and convenience, but you are saving like an enormous amount of money. Yeah. So it is several seconds of wait worth £800 or whatever.
Okay, so does it have GPS built into it?
Yeah, like pretty much every smartphone. It has GPS and it has accelerometers. One thing it does lack is a gyroscope. So you can't do the AR bit with Pokemon Go.
Oh, okay.
It'll just come up with a message saying cannot detect phone's orientation. So you couldn't use this, for example, on sort of VR helmet, that bit where you clip your phone onto a little thing that you strap to your head, that sort of thing, or anything where you're doing like that and looking around. It's not going to work. It's one of the little sacrifices that you make, but it does have a headphone socket.
Yay!
Other things that it sort of does and doesn't have, it has a micro USB socket rather than USB-C.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so if that's important, or if you don't want, you might not want USB-C, who knows. Does have, as I said, fingerprint sensor. Yeah, so it's got, as I say, it's got NFC, so you can do Android Pay, that sort of thing.
Not every kind of budget smartphone's got that, has it? So that's actually still quite an unusual feature for this kind of price range.
Yeah, certainly for this sort of price range, you can get larger size screens, and often fingerprint sensors, but NFC is still fairly uncommon. Couple of annoying things, I'd say. It doesn't have 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It's only got 2.4, not what, which...
so what does that mean in reality?
The most obvious place you'd find that is if you're using it to control something that's broadcasting an FPV signal to you, like a quadcopter.
Okay.
Some quadcopters use 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi to broadcast the image, and that just won't work with that.
To most people, that's not going to be an issue, but because you may or may not know, we've got some quadcopters. It's not an issue because we've got other phones that can do it, but it's a bit of an annoyance because that's got a bigger screen, and it would have been nice. It would
make a nice screen and a nice thing to use your quadcopter, but it's something to bear in mind. Only 2.4, no 5G.
Right, okay. Another thing that I'm quite interested to talk to you about with regards to it is, obviously with it being a Huawei phone, it comes, I'm presuming, preloaded with some Huawei skin of some kind, some apps. Yeah. So how have you been, is there a lot of them? How have you been finding that? Do they get in the way?
It's not too bad. You don't get the really egregious skins and really very hugely altered Android anymore. But that said, it's still not completely stock Android. If you're one of the people who, if you really like your stock Android, you don't actually have to go for the Pixel line or the Nexus as it was anymore. There is the Android One phones. A lot of the Nokia phones are Android Ones, and some of the Xiaomi phones coming out, they're Android Ones. So if you're looking for that stock Android feel and also getting those security patches and updates as quickly as possible, you might want to look out for an Android One sort of variation on this sort of budget smartphone.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a range of phones that I'm going to be looking into when I come to upgrade.
Yeah.
Because I've got used to the stock Android now. But saying that, from what I've seen of your phone, it's not, as you say, it's not blatantly in your face. This isn't a stock Android phone.
Yeah, it's not.
It's very subtle.
Yeah, there are some apps it comes preloaded with, but you can tidy them away into a folder out of the way. There are ways to completely remove pre-installed software. A lot of the time you'll try using the normal app delete app in the settings, and it won't allow you to. But there are ways of doing it, connecting it to your computer, and not even having to root the phone.
Oh, okay.
That you can. So if you really, really want to get rid of them, it is possible to strip all that pre-installed stuff out on any type of phone.
Yeah.
One other thing I'd say, it's got the power there and the volume rocker there. They could do with being a bit further apart.
Oh, okay.
It's a bit, you can, when you're just trying to find them, they could do it just being a little bit further.
So it's the power button?
Yeah, a finger width break
so
between the two would have been nice.
So the power button hasn't got a slightly different texture or anything? No. Okay.
No, they're not. But yeah, or having the power button at the top, or just around.
Mind you, saying that, that's the only annoyance you've got with the phone. Yeah. And I think it's a good.
As you're probably detecting, the little annoyances are, they're fairly petty. For the general experience, it's been nice and smooth, nice and just basically easy. It hasn't wound me up. It hasn't annoyed me. I haven't been, why did I go for this cheap phone? It's been a very pleasant experience using this.
Is it something that you would recommend to anyone else that's looking for a new Android phone?
Yeah, if you're thinking that you need a new phone but you just can't face the expense of that big flagship phone, these new generation of budget Android smartphones really are giving you the very small board of big screen, solid premium feel phone experience that just a few years ago you would have been needing to have spent £600 on at least. So it's an interesting time for phones now.
Yes,
this is a good option, but there are other options out there as well. Don't be afraid to look at the mid-range to budget smartphone anymore. It's not the compromise it used to be.
No, and especially as we've previously discussed, you have got the Android One phones out there for the people like me that like the purists, that like the stock Android updates. I want to have the updates first and the security features and stuff. And it's great that I don't have to start thinking about spending £500 or £600 on my next phone.
Yeah. Another thing to bear in mind is that, being only £150, you don't necessarily need to keep hold of it for quite as long as you would a phone that was costing you
that's a good point,
£400 or £500 or more. You could swap this phone
in a year or so.
Yeah, in a year's time, 18 months' time. This screen is the 18:9 rather than 16:9 aspect ratio.
Which means? It's taller and narrower?
Yeah, it means it's taller and slightly in proportion narrower. I've got fairly chunky hands. How do you find it? But I find it's okay.
I'd find that it would be a bit dodgy if I wanted to try and operate it one-handed if I didn't have a grippy case on it. For me, I could
obviously
do
there are
but I'd find
smaller phones.
There are smaller phones, but it's nice and light. It's not heavy. It doesn't feel bulky. But I've got ridiculously small hands and wrists. But and the fingerprint sensor's in a nice position.
It falls in a nice position, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's underneath your finger.
Okay,
but it is a nice screen for watching things like YouTube, things like that.
Overall, it's a really, really good phone. And the bits that you find annoying with it are kind of really tiny petty bits
really
that aren't really going to get in the way.
Nitpicky things, nothing
that gets in the way of your enjoyment.
Yeah, nothing deal breaking. There's absolutely nothing deal breaking about it. so far, like I said, it's only been a couple of weeks, but
there's nothing more that you can ask from a phone, really.
No, it has been a pleasant experience, and I would definitely recommend.
Right, but if anyone has got any comments or questions regarding it?
Put those in the comments. If you liked this, found this helpful, please give us a like. If you'd like to see more from us, subscribe. That would be great. Thanks very much. And this has been the Huawei Y7. I've been Jeff. I've been Frankie. This has been the Man of Tech Show, and you've been very kind to watch. Thank you very much.
Bye. Okay.
Oh, that's not my phone.
No, that's my phone.
Oh, good.
That's a good start.
Good start, already.